Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show. We got our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow him at Twitter at Brent Beaird. He'll be joining us here momentarily on the Titan MR hotline. So let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We have Brent right now. Good morning, Brent. How are you? Welcome to the program.
Shane, always good to be with you. Much is going on where it used to be a quiet end of June, beginning of July. That's not going to be the case this year, is it?
No, it's not. And just so people know, we had to tape this show. And as we open it up today, the NIL kicks off today on July the 1st. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, Brent, gosh, it's less than 2 months away and we have college football.
Yeah, it really is. That is amazing. August 28th, which is less than 2 months, we will have Illinois, Nebraska, and then Hawaii and UCLA. One thing to keep in mind with this Hawaii-UCLA game, the following week, UCLA will play LSU in the Rose Bowl, which means that UCLA will have played a game, LSU will not. Now, I still think LSU has a better roster. Still think at this point that they will win the game, and we'll certainly get into some LSU stuff more in a minute. But, Shane, it's going to be somewhat of an advantage early for UCLA when a team plays an opener before the other team does, and they've at least got a little bit of experience to work out some of the kinks.
Yeah, that's true. And then, as you mentioned, the other game is Illinois-Nebraska, a Big Ten game right off the bat. And we'll talk a little bit more about it later in the program. But Scott Frost, man, his time may be running out there in Nebraska.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And part of the reason for that, too, or some changes in their administration, as far as the athletic director, Bill Moose is going to be retiring coming up on July the 1st. And again, we're not saying Scott Frost is going to be fired anytime soon, but it's just a realization that you've got a new athletic director that didn't hire you, that sometimes makes you think a little bit. So that's one we'll certainly follow.
Yes, no question. Brent, the transfer portal, I think that's something you'll talk about on every show you do from here on out. But somebody actually has punched some numbers on it, which I've been wanting somebody to do. Talk about how many guys are still sitting in that transfer portal.
These numbers are really startling when you think about what these guys have done in transferring. Only 26% of Power 5 players who enter the transfer portal ended up signing with a Power 5 program. Now, just 37% of 826 FBS scholarship players examined in this study remained at the same level after transferring to their new school. And even beyond that, 47% of the players that transferred down to FCS or JUCO, which really, when you look at these numbers, Shane, that tells you a lot about the portal, doesn't it?
Yes. It's one of those deals where, I feel terrible. I know everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to get on tape so they can move to the next level, but there's that small percentage of people that get to play in the NFL. But Brent, as you said, that the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And when you have a scholarship paying for your education, and now, and we'll talk about the NIL, I don't know how much kids are going to make on the side, but you give up that scholarship, you could be sitting in that portal the rest of your life. I mean, you may not have another opportunity to play ball.
And I think this is what is not said enough about would be, and I've also seen a study where the great majority of the kids in the transfer portal are young players. In other words, they're either red shirts or maybe they played a year or two at the most, and they really, as you said it well a few minutes ago, they don't have the tape on them that some of these older players do as they try to show themselves around. So, again, we've just got in a situation here to where I don't know where a lot of these guys get their advice, but way too many of them, Shane, are making a big mistake.
Yes, no question about it. As we're speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan More Hotline, this show is being taped, and we'll already know who won the College World Series. But this next little topic I want to bring up with you, Brent, there's a trivia question everybody's thrown out there recently. The 3 Power 5 schools that have never won a national title in any sport. And as we speak, it may have changed. One of those teams, we don't know. Mississippi State may have an opportunity, but it was Mississippi State, Kansas State, and Virginia Tech, right? Those are the 3 teams that have never won a national title.
I think what surprises me about this is, I think we knew Mississippi State had not, and Kansas State, but did it surprise you a little bit, like it did me, that Virginia Tech did have not won a national title in any team sport? I mean, you would have thought that at some point, and I know they've had some really good football teams from time to time, but I really would have thought in some sport that Virginia Tech would have done that. I mean, that's a good school, frankly, and they've had some success, but boy, that's a trio you don't want to be a member of for very long.
Not at all. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. June is your lucky month at Wrap Spot, but it is July. And so you can still mention the promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Hey, Brent, you sent me a note about the teams that have had a drought being, I think, in the top 10 the longest. Can you run those down for us?
Yeah, there are several interesting notes here as far as teams that have, frankly, struggled against top 10 opponents and also against even teams that were ranked and still haven't won. The Power 5 teams have gone the longest without beating an AP top 10 team. Some of these won't surprise you. Some of them will. Wake Forest, Duke, Virginia, Tennessee, Colorado, Rutgers, Vanderbilt, and Maryland. Now, obviously, Wake Forest hasn't done it since 1946, which is a mouthful. But, I mean, Shane, you look at Tennessee. Tennessee has not beaten a top 10 opponent since October 7th of 2006. So, as successful as that program was for quite some time, that is an unbelievable drought when you look at that. And then you've got, to extend this a little bit further, that there are some Power 5 teams that have gone the longest without beating a ranked Associated Press team: Rutgers, Kansas, Boston College, Baylor, Nebraska, Duke, Georgia Tech. Again, some of those we would have suspected, but boy, if you're a Nebraska fan and you haven't beaten a ranked team in the AP since 2016, that's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. It's. I think this is a huge year for Scott Frost. Okay, Brent, as we said, as this show's being taped today, July the 1st is the first official day, I believe, for 19 states that have passed this NIL. I've learned a little bit more about it. What can you tell us? How you think this stuff's going to be made? What do you think it's going to happen? I mean, it's going to be a wild, wild west, right?
We're going to see, beginning on July the 1st, in that first few days of July, I think a lot of noise. We'll get, as they say, the proverbial smoke and mirrors a little bit from a lot of guys who, and I give them some credit for this, a lot of guys who have come up with their own brand. They've got their own logos, and they've made even some of their own deals. So we will see that. Some of these will be, frankly, some fairly well-known players. And again, the big date about July 1 and Thursday, again, is the fact that this will be the first day that some states will have their own name, image, and likeness legislation that will go intact and will begin. So the question comes up, well, what is the NCAA going to do? And what we have seen is the NCAA is going to come up with kind of an interim situation, shall we say. There won't be a lot of concrete details about it, but they're hoping to fill in the blanks for some of this. Mike Farrell of Rivals.com had a interesting article just this week about what might happen and what we could expect, such as lawsuits. Players will be promised one thing by colleges in regards to their earning, and that doesn't happen. We'll have maybe some players sitting out, player-coach disputes, locker room disruption, and maybe even some conflict of interest. Now, again, we don't know all that's going on and won't belabor the point too much, but I think the main thing our listeners need just to be aware of, Shane, is it has started, and where it really goes, it could be, as you've said, the Wild Wild West, and as you and I have talked before, this could end up being, in the beginning, maybe even a little bit of nothing. So, or maybe something in between at this point. So, just so much speculation here, but safe to say with the transfer portal, the free transfer, and having won and not being penalized for having to sit out, and the playoff expansion that's coming. Shane, again, we've had more change in college football, I would argue, in a month than we've had probably almost in a decade.
Yeah, it's a scary situation. I've learned a little bit more about the NIL, Brent, and it's interesting because I can't wait, and obviously today is the day when we're going to find out if any big name guys across the country have some deals in place. I still have a hard time believing you're going to get a bunch of them. And you mentioned how some players have their own clothing lines or logos. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to buy that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Unless you know you're the Heisman Trophy winner and you're coming back for another year. If you're just a wide receiver on a team or a defensive back, I mean, your family members or somebody may buy your clothing line, but you're not going to see 50,000 people, Gator fans or whatever fans, buying your stuff. That's just my personal opinion. What I did find out, and I thought was very interesting, is let's use Florida, for example, a Nike school. If a player is approached, so basically it's like the National Football League. When your footwear in the National Football League, you negotiate that, or your agent does, with whatever brand. And usually they stroke you a check, and they give you X amount of product that you can spend, or you can go in the catalogs and order. And depending on who you are, it ranges. It varies in the ranges. But I believe I heard this correct. If Adidas or Under Armour contacts one of the Florida Gator football players, which is a Nike school, they are allowed to wear those other brand cleats. And that really is intriguing to me.
Yeah, it is.
It's basically becoming the National Football League is what it's, or professional sports. And it's crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see a whole lot of shoe companies throwing money at, even though I still call them amateur athletes, because they haven't really proven themselves. They only throw that money at those big boys in the NFL that have proven themselves. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know what to think about this. It is absolutely bizarre to me.
Well, and let me also include this too. To back up your point, the question is going to be, how do you measure who is likely to get one of these deals? Well, what part of this is, Shane, and be it good or be it bad, is through social media and how many people have liked your Instagram or Twitter, how many followers that you've got, that someone can try to monetize that and go to a advertiser and say, well, I've got X number of followers, which is more than anybody else on the team. So I think that's going to be another fascinating situation is, Shane, it may not only be from your stats on the field, but also from what you've got to offer and how your reach goes on social media. That's another incredible way of looking at it too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I do think you're going to see a lot of college athletes, as you mentioned, tweet or put it on their Twitter or Instagram or whatever, come eat at restaurant X. That's where I eat twice a week, and they're going to give those kids free food. I do see that happening.
Yeah.
I just still have a hard time seeing anybody getting $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000.
Agree.
Maybe I'm crazy. I just don't see it happening. And the other thing too, that what happens, and I'm sure it's in the contract because everything has to run through the university.
Yes.
What happens when, let's say, player X signs, a car dealer does say, okay, we'll give you $30,000 to do X amount of autograph signings at our dealership. We're going to put your picture on the billboards around town, whatever it is, give you a car to drive. What if a guy gets hurt the first game?
Right. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're going to learn. It's just it's very, very intriguing to me. I can't wait to see how it all transpires. I did read how, as we speak, this is Thursday, but I read a couple of days ago that some prominent, I don't know if it's a quarterback or somebody in the country is supposed to have a deal done. They didn't say who it was. But,
yeah, correct.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what a prominent deal is. But anyway.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Haver & Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We're looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
We're speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR hotline. If you have got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics. 352-400-4550. All right, Brent, you also put in your notes some programs that are far away from a national title. Let's talk about those teams.
Yeah, we've when you look at some of the teams and that they may have a long way to go, and I give Mike Farrell of Rivals credit for this too. The programs that he has listed, and these are logical. Florida State, Tennessee, Virginia Tech again, Michigan, and Texas. Now, of those 5 schools, I'm not sure that Texas may not have the best roster. They've still got a lot and a long way to go with this. Michigan's not going anywhere, are they, Shane, until they beat Ohio State?
No, I don't know why Virginia Tech's in that list.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, now again, no one's beating Clemson in this juncture, but I think I'm with you. I think Virginia Tech could end up rallying here. Tennessee, it's still going to be a while. They'll be much better offensively. They're going to struggle defensively. And I still think Mike Norvell, within a year or so, that you could see some pretty significant improvement with them. And again, I'm not saying like Virginia Tech that they're going to beat Clemson either, but I could see some improvement with them maybe sooner than later.
Yeah, that list, Michigan, I don't see them being relevant at all. I think Texas and that whole list has the best chance because they play in the Big 12. I think they got good players. I like Sarkisian. They still got to deal with Oklahoma, though. So, we'll see. SEC win totals over the past decade. Georgia has the most, in the East.
Oh, yeah. No question about that. I mean, in the East, you've got Georgia, obviously, as the leading team there, 102, Florida, 81. Missouri and South Carolina both tied at 71. Look at Tennessee at 5, Shane, and do the math there. How many games wins they're averaging per year during that 10 years? That's kind of startling too. Alabama's certainly lapped the field with 127. LSU is second with 96. Now A&M involved with that and with 84. I think, which is also interesting. Shane, we did, and we've talked a little bit about the ACC. What I wanted to say here real quick is this. What's staggering, frankly, in the ACC, and it's not so much that Clemson's number one, but Clemson in the last 10 seasons has 121 wins. Florida State is second with 89. Wow. It's not that they're first. Shane, it's how wide the gap is.
Yeah, it is huge. The returning passers in college football, I'm going to run some of these names. Sam Howell at North Carolina, Dylan Gabriel, obviously at UCF, Corral at Ole Miss, Spencer Rattler at OU. Who is Carson Strong? He threw for 2,800 yards last year. Where's he from, Brent?
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to look that. I'm going to look that up because that's not a name that we hear a whole lot about because he's at the University of Nevada. He's a good quarterback, but Shane, how many Nevada games have we watched over the last few years?
Not many at all. There's no question about that. All right, so let's go around the league. What's going on up in Tuscaloosa?
I think some interesting things in Tuscaloosa. Arian Knighton was a guy that Alabama really liked as a 2022 wide receiver. He is giving up football and focuses on track. He just finished in first place with a 19.88 in the men's 200 meter in the Olympic trials. Hey, Shane, he's only 17 years old. That might be, I would say he has a good bit of potential with that, too. A couple of quick recruiting situations, and I may not even try to pronounce his name, but the number one player that was left on the board, this was a guy, again, from this was the 2021 class. I'm not talking about 2022, but his nickname was JTT, and his last name is Tuamola. He is from a East Catholic high school in Washington. They thought that the recruiting experts that he might be going to Alabama. Alabama is no longer on his list, so he is looking at this point at Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, and Southern Cal. So he's going to stay where he is. Also, speaking of Oregon, T.J. Dudley, a linebacker, made his 4-star announcement on Monday on CBS Sports and said that he was going to Oregon. And Mario Cristobal, some folks thought he might be going to Alabama. So that did not happen. Now, what's unusual is Dudley is out of Montgomery Catholic and Montgomery, Alabama. So, look, Alabama doesn't get everybody. It seems like they do. But this guy going to Oregon, and again, Shane, Mario Cristobal was a tremendous recruiter. I think he's a pretty good football coach. He's done a good job at Oregon. We all know they've got the Nike money up there and so forth. But look, this guy, Mario Cristobal, would it shock you of all, Shane, if he ends up in the SEC in a few years?
Yeah, he probably will. Brandon, Auburn, you sent a note about their wide receivers, and I had to read it like 4 times about their wide receiver production on their roster right now.
Only 4 Auburn wide receivers on the current roster have caught a pass before. 3 of them have appeared in only 1 game, and 2 have never even seen the field. The most experienced player in their wide receiver room has 10 career receptions. So now, Shane, combine that with what we know about Bo Nix, and tell me where that passing game might be going for Auburn.
Yeah, they're going to be lining up, handing it off to number 4, Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be doing.
Yes.
Yeah, so, we'll see. What's going on in Gainesville?
I think one thing that I think is good news here, a couple of things. One is Jadarius Perkins, who is Missouri defensive back, has told Gator Country that he has been in Gainesville and trying to enroll and get into the secondary. I mean, this is a pretty talented kid that has got some experience, obviously in Missouri. So if that comes to fruition, that will certainly be helpful for our recruitniks who are listening. Florida is going to be hosting a recruiting event on June 31st. Well, obviously that's already happened, but in other words, they've got some of these recruiting events going on. That they were some this week. This was similar to the cookout they had on June the 1st. So I'll be honest with you. I know this staff has gotten their share of criticism for recruiting, but I think either from the transfer portal or kind of what we're seeing in recruiting, particularly for next year, Shane, I think they've made some important inroads, frankly.
Yeah, they have. I think a lot of it has to do with that building that's being constructed right now, the football standalone facility. The kids can actually see the damn thing going up. I think that helps. What's going on in Athens? Anything happening?
They have a commitment from four-star running back Ja'Cory Thomas. This is for 2022, 6'1", 200, very versatile. So he was originally scheduled to visit Iowa State, but he's probably going to stay in the Southeast. Spend a little bit of time with Miami, Florida State. So look, I think their quarterback and their running back room are going to be pretty solid over the next few years, and this is just another addition to it.
That's right. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. A few more minutes with our good friend Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR hotline. Brent, what's going on up in Lexington, Kentucky with the Wildcats?
They've got some problem internally a little bit with their staff. Their chief of staff was arrested over the weekend, and from the report that we've seen, Dan Berkowitz, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, but was arrested on Sunday and faces assault charges. Fourth-degree assault is a Class A misdemeanor under Kentucky law. We don't know a whole lot of details about that. Kentucky does know about it. Really nothing else has been said. He has been on the staff since 2013, and I think this is pretty indicative of what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky. Is oftentimes he has kept this staff together. So obviously they've got to work this situation out, but obviously this time of year that stuff you don't want to see.
No doubt. Baton Rouge, Coach O is now involved in all that mess going on.
This is getting a little more complicated. Last Friday, 3 additional women open up about this sexual battery situation by former LSU players. And what is somewhat different about this is that in the addition to the lawsuit, it is there's wording that Orgeron encouraged the allegations to be ignored. So, and Shane and I have talked about this for quite a while, is if this continues to grow and that, again, look, this is not like Will Wade in basketball that that allegedly gave some money to some players. When you've got Title IX involved, you've got, frankly, a federal situation going on here. And that could get very ugly. I mean, could that cost him his job? Yeah. If it gets bad enough, it very well could. Again, we're not saying it will. We're just saying that this has got more complicated. And as far as on the field, Darren Rosenthal, their starting left tackle, has gone into the transfer portal. Now, I've also heard that he might change his mind, too, so we'll wait and see about this. But Rosenthal has been suspended at times. When he plays, he's a really good player. He's a starting offensive lineman, as we mentioned. Cam Wire, Camwire, is expected to take his place, but you would certainly hate to lose a starter at any time. So, Shane, as you have talked about for several weeks now, I think this is a very good football team on the field, but their off-the-field stuff could really stop them in their tracks before the year is over.
They really could. Up in Columbia, South Carolina, Shane Beamer got him a really good freshman All-American defensive back in the portal.
Aaron Prenti is going to be transferring. Freshman All-American, did not allow any touchdown passes as a freshman. Now, listen, this is at Kansas. I don't mean he was at Iowa State. He was at Kansas. I mean, Shane, you've got to be pretty good if you don't allow any touchdown passes at Kansas, don't you?
There's no question about it, because they stink. Anything happening with the Big Orange up in Knoxville?
Well, speaking of guys getting in trouble, this is a now former quarterback, Caden Salter, has entered his name into the transfer portal. Salter was, frankly, a pretty decent quarterback, but he got in trouble early on for possession of marijuana, and not only has he been dismissed once, he's gotten in trouble again lately. So they've decided that we've had enough, and he is now dismissed and off the team. So for his off-the-field behavior, he is gone. Now they've also got a redshirt sophomore defensive lineman, Greg Emerson, who has entered the portal. This is a four-star kid, 6'3", 290, played a decent amount in 2019. So I think someone will end up picking him up. Now, they've actually had a guy that's been reinstated, Aaron Beasley, their linebacker. He was suspended in April for abusing a kitten. So they've worked all that out, and he is back on a team now. He's got 9 career tackles and 17 appearances. So, listen, it's been another difficult offseason in Knoxville, to say the least.
Yep. Jimbo got him a top-notch quarterback, it seems like.
Eli Holstein is who we're talking about. He is a 4-star quarterback in the class of 2023. And they've gotten several others to go with it. But as far as Holstein is concerned, LSU, Utah, Georgia, Penn State, Auburn, Ohio State, Alabama, shown some interest in him with that. So, look, Jimbo's got the reputation with quarterbacks, and we may not know a whole lot about him in the beginning, but he can recruit and sign quarterbacks without any issue, can he, Shane?
That's very, very true. Brent, you got any nuggets for us?
Well, we always try to have a few of those along that line, too. We have I'm just going to throw some state schools out here real quick. Florida State has done very well in recruiting. I'm just going to throw out some names. 4-star defensive lineman Trevion Williams committed to them last weekend. They've got a 3-star 2022 offensive lineman, Kenya Charlton, also committed to him. He's 6'5", 351. So that's a pretty good kid, say the least. They've got another offensive lineman, Kayshawn Sapp, who's 2022, 6'5", 320. And they've also got another lineman, Ontavious Woody, who is 6'3", 291. He's from Lafayette, Alabama. Now listen, one thing you and I have talked about now for years, frankly, Shane, for years, they have got to be able to retool their offensive line. And I don't care how good their skill possession people are, Shane, until they can rebuild their offensive line, they're going to be very limited in what they can do.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So I'm anxious. And pretty much it's a given. Mackenzie Milton is their starting quarterback, right?
Well, let me say this. He is certainly in the battle with that. But again, if he's anything near the quarterback they had when he was at Central Florida, he very well could be that. That is not a given. He had a really good spring game, and again, when he was at UCF, he threw for 9,000 yards. So we know the kid's very capable. But frankly, I think before it's over, that their quarterback room will be a strength for them instead of a weakness.
Yeah. Brent, before we let you go, you being a big Alabama guy and your twin brother covers SEC football in the state of Alabama, what are you hearing from the Alabama people, fans or whatever, about the name, image, and likeness there in the Tuscaloosa area?
I think what people are fairly confident about is that Nick Saban has a plan for this and that he will be on top of it and be able to manage it. Now, look, there are a lot of unknowns here, but some of the coaches who decided to get in front of this and to start meeting with their players and come up with some kind of a plan that would continue to keep chemistry in the locker room and some of the intangibles like that are going to be way ahead of the game. And that's kind of what we hear is that there are no real specifics with it until this thing plays out. But as he always does, Saban will have some kind of a plan to, as best they can, to keep name, image, and likeness from being a problem.
Yeah. You think any of the players there are going to get a deal from Dreamland Barbecue?
Hey, Shane, if I was up there, I would get one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be. You could tweet, or I'll tweet all about Dreamland if I get free food.
Hey, absolutely, brother. There's no question about that. We'll tweet about them all day long, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brent, great stuff as always, buddy. Hope you have a wonderful weekend celebrating the 4th of July, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
Well, it's going to be fascinating when we talk next week.
Oh,
where this thing has gone in a week's time, right?
There's no question. Brent, be safe, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
You too, pal. Take care.
Yep, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take a time out here. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company, If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We're looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, Bank of Ford, member FDIC. I hope you enjoyed Brent Beaird. Again, we had to tape this program for the weekend, and as we speak today, the NIL is in full force. This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 sign-on bonus for qualified positions. Call them today about a career with Comfort Temp. 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, back in 1993, the NBA draft, Michigan center Chris Webber's the first pick of the Orlando Magic, but he's traded to the Golden State Warriors. You just wonder, if you're a Magic fan, what would have happened with the franchise if they had not traded away Chris Webber. But that's brought to you by This Day in Sports is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Tomorrow's program, make sure it's a taped event. But it's going to be kind of our Olympic edition with Grant Holloway, Mouse Holloway, and who else is on that show? Anthony Nesty. Anthony Nesty is one of the swim coaches. So make sure you tune in for that as well. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shops, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, Palmetto Moon, and coming August of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. So anyway, hope you enjoyed talking. I can't wait to see how this NIL, give it a few days, few weeks, see if any of these guys actually sign deals. Can't wait to see the dollar amounts and what all transpires. But that's it. I hope everyone has a tremendous holiday weekend and celebrates the 4th of July. Remember, tomorrow's show, Olympics, Grant Holloway, Anthony Nesty, and Mouse Holloway. And then our show that's being taped and going to run on Monday is going to have Gator greats, Gator legends, Carlos Alvarez and Jack Youngblood. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. Enjoy the weekend.
1st and 10. Matthews, near side, wide open, Alonzo Sullivan. He may go. Touchdown, Gators.